In this lesson we're going to look at how we multiply where brackets are concerned. So you may come across things like this. 3 and then in brackets x plus 2. When you get something written in front of a bracket, this thing has to be multiplied by everything in the bracket. So this is the same as doing 3 times by that x and 3 times by that 2, and those bits are going to be added together. Now we don't normally bother writing it down like that, we sort of think of it like that. So if we're writing it down, we'd go 3 is being times by x, and 3 lots of x, just write down as 3x. Then the plus sign comes in here, and I've got 3 times by 2. 3 times by 2 is 6. You're not adding the 3 and the 2 together, you are timesing, so that's why we get that answer. We have a look at another one, 7 and 2y minus 5. This means 7 has to be times by everything here in the bracket. 7 lots of 2y is 14y. And the sign goes in, which is a minus. And 7 lots of 5 is 35. That is the answer for that one. So this is called multiplying out. Have a look at another one. X times by 3 plus x. Hasn't got to be a number at the front. Here, this x has to be times by everything in the bracket. So we can do x times by 3. Well, x times by 3, we would normally write that down as 3x, because we usually write the number in front of the letter. We don't bother writing the times sign in. Then the plus sign. Now I've got to do x times by x. X times by x is x squared, x times by itself. So that's what we get for that one. Now you can go harder still with these. You can have letters and numbers on the outside and the inside. So let's have a look at this one first of all. This 4x has to be times by everything over here. 4x times by 5. 5 lots of 4x is 20x. Then the sign goes in. And 4 lots of 4x times by another x. That means 4x times by another x. Well, the x times by x is x squared. And there's a 4. It's 4x squared. So that was the 4x times by another x gives us 4x squared. If we keep doing some more examples, we might have 3x times by 4x take away 7y. Here the 3x has to be times by each of these things. First of all then, 3x times by 4x. 3 times by 4 is 12. The x times by the x is x squared. We've had that before. And the sign goes in. Now I've got to do 3x times by 7y. Well, the 3 times by the 7 is 21. And x times by y, we'll just write down as x, y. So, again, we can still get harder than this. Have a look at 5xy squared times by 2x minus 7y. The 5xy squared has to be times by each of these bits. So first of all, I've got to times the 5xy squared by 2x. Let's do the number bit first. 5 times by 2 makes 10. I've got an x here and an x here, and then multiplying those together, that will give me an x squared, and I've got this y squared. Well, that's got to appear in my answer. Now I put the sign in. Now I'm going to do this bit, the 5xy squared, times by the 7y. Let's do the numbers first. 5 times by 7 is 35. X, there's just one x bit here, it's that bit, so I'll put my x down. And y squared times by another y is y cubed. So that's the answer for that one. If we take it again, a bit harder still, if we have 8x cubed y to the power of 4 times by 3t minus x plus 2y. You can have more than two things in a bracket, it doesn't matter. We have to multiply this by that, then this by that, and then this by that. So let's start by timesing these two together. Let's do the numbers first. 8 times by 3 is 24. Now the letters, let's do them in alphabetical order. X, Y's and T's. T's comes first. This is the only T that's there, so I need to write that down. then the x's. Now, with these two bits here, the only x's are these, the x to the power of 3. So it still has to appear here in my answer. And the y's, the only part when I'm timesing these two together is here. The y to the power of 4 has to appear in my answer. Now I've dealt with that multiplied by that bit, so I put the sign down, the taking away. And now I have to multiply this by this x. So, the 8, you can't just forget about the 8, you've got to think of there being a 1 there really, because the 8 times by the 1 gives you 8. There are no t's in either of these, so there'll be no t's in this part of my answer. Now I've got this x cubed times by another x. That means x times x times x times x. Well, that's 4 x's all multiplied together. So that's x to the power of 4. And then I have to times, well, I have to deal with the y to the power of 4. There's a y bit here, no y bit over here. The y bit there still has to appear, y to the power of 4. So I've dealt with everything up to the finger. Now I put that plus sign in, and I have to times this by the 2y. Let's do the numbers first. 8 times by 2 is 16. There are no t's anywhere, so I deal with the x's next. The only x's are here. That's x to the 3. That has to stay there. Then move on to the y's. I've got y to the power of 4 times by another y. So that's y times y times y times y times y, which is y to the power of 5.